Hello, my name is Sarah Worth. Throughout the semester, I've been working with Paul Bowman from Deque Systems to conduct an accessibility analysis on the online flight booking process across major airlines in the US and Europe. In this talk, I'll talk about accessibility in Deque Systems, and I'll give you an overview of the project and my goals around accessibility impact analysis. I'll explain the methodology and Deque's accessibility tools. From there, I'll walk through the challenges I encountered using the tools in practice and how those limitations shaped the outcome and scope of the project. Deque is a digital accessibility company and is the leader in the digital accessibility space. Tools like Google Lighthouse use their accessibility code. They provide software tools, services, and training to help organizations ensure their websites and mobile applications are accessible to all users, including those with disabilities. This project was born from the desire to understand Deque's real-world impact. We want to know, is Deque making a difference? Is Deque as a company improving real-world user experiences? The goal was to evaluate Deque's real-world impact on web accessibility and user experience. To do this analysis, a lot of data needs to be gathered. It would be helpful to have an internet-wide baseline for accessibility. We would want to look at differences in accessibility across different industries and regions. And most importantly, we would want to do comparisons between Deque customers and non-Deque customers and look at Deque's customers' accessibility scores before and after using their services. Now, this project evolved a lot from its inception. We redefined scope pretty much continuously throughout the semester due to issues with the data gathering processes, issues with the tools, not having the proper access and permissions, not having access to sensitive data that would have been critical for the analysis we wanted to do. I only just finished data collection a couple days ago, so let's dive in and talk about the project in more detail. So after the first couple times we redefined the scope of the project, my team members chose to focus on a different project, so I was the only person who moved forward on this one. This impact analysis really resonates with me because I think true success goes beyond profit. Companies should stay connected to their mission and consider the real-world effects of what they create. Deque's mission is digital equality, and these kinds of assessments are crucial for them to understand if they're making meaningful progress. Paul wants to do this kind of in-depth analysis across many sectors to look at accessibility trends and patterns. I ended up scaling this project down quite a bit for the sake of time and the issues I mentioned before. We focused specifically on the airline industry and moved forward with data collection on the user flow for booking and selecting flights using the keyboard and a screen reader. The goal was to mimic a blind user's experience with the flight booking process. We wanted to collect accessibility data using Deque's tool AxMonitor and compare accessibility scores across airlines and regions. So Deque has two main accessibility tools that I could use for this project. AxMonitor scans websites automatically at designated intervals, every week, month, etc. It's designed to track accessibility over time and provide executive and compliance level reporting. We had issues getting me the proper permissions in Ax Reports, which is the report side of AxMonitor, so I ended up downloading CSVs and working with those in Python rather than the dashboard. And then we have DevTools, which is a browser extension designed for developers and testers to use during the development process. I just quickly wanted to show you what an AxMonitor scan looks like. So you can see the breakdown of the accessibility issues found in the scan, along with the number of pages scanned, the type of issue, and a description. If you click on the issue, it will show you a source code snippet that generated the issue and give you suggestions for how to fix it. The plan was to collect information both by hand and using AxMonitor scans. I was counting keystrokes by hand and making notes on the screen reader's performance and usability. But as I collected this data, it became apparent that the data collection process was not reproducible. I had issues with the screen reader glitching when I switched between screens or acting differently when I would repeat data collection on the same page. I also ran into issues with the number of keystrokes being different depending on different flight criteria for the same website. Another limitation was that AxMonitor scans couldn't capture all of the page states we were interested in. With AxMonitor, you need to give it a URL to scan, and when you open menus on a page, that doesn't usually change the URL, so we couldn't capture accessibility issues hidden in menus or, like, for instance, date selector tools. Next, I want to talk about page states, which I just mentioned, and DevTools. So this is a screenshot of a DevTools scan. You can see it's just a browser extension. I have it opened up just for this page. I had it run a full page scan, and it shows 5 issues and a breakdown of the issue severity along with a description of the issue and links to the code snippets. However, as you go through the flight booking process, you open up different menus, highlight things, and make selections. Every click in a new field is a new page state. This is an example of the same website, but with a date picker opened. As you can see, the scan now shows a lot of new issues. This is why it's important to scan more than just the home page when you're looking at accessibility. This right here is the heart of the whole project. We want accessibility data that is actually representative of the user experience. So after determining Axe Monitor wasn't going to work for this analysis, I switched to DevTools. For the sake of time, I am not going to go into all the issues I encountered. I had to switch from running full page scans to using the Scan User Flow option. This option automatically rescans the page with every state change. In theory, this is perfect for our application. In practice, not so much. The issue that I had the most difficulty with was DevTools constantly refreshing the page without me clicking anything. That made it really difficult to make selections, sometimes made me click on the wrong things. That essentially completely derailed the original plan of trying to replicate the keyboard user experience, and I had to settle for doing my best to make selections with the mouse. This was kind of a bummer since gathering accessibility data based on the user experience was the heart of the project. So using Axe Monitor and DevTools, I was able to successfully collect data for 21 airlines across America and Europe. I was also able to take detailed notes about my experience and challenges with using DevTools, and Paul had me record a presentation to give to the product development team to help them improve the tool for future analysis. We also now have a proof of concept experiment completed. We learned a lot about how difficult it is to gather this type of data from one industry, and we can use that knowledge going forward for a larger scale accessibility impact analysis. So I have started going through the data. I had to download all of the scan, issue, and page data from Axe Monitor as CSV files and process it with Python for my exploratory data analysis. I was able to do some preliminary analysis to look at things like comparisons between European and American airlines, what types of issues are most common, which issue severities are most common, and which airlines are most and least accessible. Here you can see a simple stacked bar chart showing the total number of issues for each website broken down by issue severity. You see Emirates at the top with nearly 1,300 issues and Delta down near the bottom with around 100. These kind of analyses will help inform accessibility trends across industries and could inform developer training and policy. So I think I've covered some of the pitfalls already. The major pitfalls of this project were tool constraints, data and tool access issues, and I really think that this experiment should be repeated to check for reproducibility under different testing conditions. Even though this project shifted directions multiple times and faced some major limitations, I think the outcome is still meaningful. We were able to complete a proof of concept for accessibility impact analysis using Deque's tools, and we identified some key limitations that Deque can address moving forward. More importantly, this project highlighted just how difficult it is to gather accessibility data that truly reflects the user experience, especially for people using assistive technology. That in itself is a valuable insight. We learned that accessibility issues are often hidden deeper in the user flow, and that just scanning the homepage is not reflective of the user experience. The insights I gained into the limitations of DevTools will be helpful for Deque to improve the tool for future analyses. And once DevTools is refined, we plan to repeat and expand this experiment. Scaling this kind of accessibility impact analysis across other industries is important because digital access isn't just about convenience. It's about inclusion. People with disabilities engage with a huge range of online services just like everybody else. Banking, healthcare, education, job applications, government services, you name it. If we only analyze accessibility in isolated sectors, we miss the bigger picture. That's why this proof of concept experiment was so important. I have now paved the way for future studies.